Hey guys, it's PJ
and Thomas,
and this is our next episode on the Get to Know Us series.
and in this video we're going to be telling you guys a story of how we met.
So let's get started. Okay, so how I remember the very first time that we actually met was at a mutual friend's get-together. Is that how you remember it?
Yes, that was way back in 2009, but I think that we were both aware of each other before then.
Yeah, and I was also in a relationship at the time. So my ex was friends with a girl named Shanna, who I'm also friends with at this point in my life.
Shanna.
Hey, Shanna. And we got invited to a get-together at her house. Her mom was going to be out of town, and she was going to have a couple of people over. So we agreed that we were going to go over there. It was like a weekend thing. It was either Friday or Saturday. She walked through like everybody that was going to be there, so I knew at that point that Thomas was going to be there. So that was kind of how I got invited to the get-together.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and then I had a friend, Zach, who worked with Shanna, and so that's how I got invited. So that's how they knew each other. So we were like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, basically.
Separation.
Or Kevin Bacon. And so we went to the party, and you guys were already there.
See, I remember, I thought you were already there, but I was there before you?
Yeah. Y'all were there before me. Before us, because I walked in and I just remember walking in and seeing PJ, and I was like, ah! Like, here he was. I had been aware of him and had a crush on him since I was 15 years old when I first saw his picture on MySpace, but we had never been in the same room together, like in such close proximity, so it was like a dream come true for me. And I remember trying to look my best that night because I knew you were going to be there, and so I was wearing like this red polo that I loved, and it was, I don't know, it was such a fun night.
But you see, at the time I was in a relationship.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good relationship, but I was in a relationship. And I did think Thomas was cute, of course. But, I was in the mindset that, I wasn't even thinking about that just because of the fact that I was in a relationship and that's who I am. So yeah, we hung out that night. It was the very first time that we'd ever, talked in person other than, seeing each other around, but we never talked during that. Because I remember the very first time that I saw you, I was still in that relationship, and it would have been before this get-together, and we were standing in line at the movie theater before they redid it, to where you had to stand outside to get your tickets.
Oh yeah, and I don't even remember this.
Yeah.
But you do.
You were with your friend Alex, and probably Mallory, and I was with my ex at the time, and I remember seeing Thomas. But yeah, so we hung out that night. It was the first time that we ever interacted, and it was like, there's somebody stopping outside our house. But yeah, it was the very first time that we had ever interacted. I think we played games that night and cut up. So it was kind of neat to see Thomas outside of at the time I think Facebook was Instagram wasn't around then.
Mm-hmm.
So
in MySpace, I think.
Facebook and MySpace. So I'd only seen pictures of Thomas and interacted through those social media outlets. Yeah, I remember leaving that night. We left 2 minutes before you guys did. And then y'all walked out after us. And I remember my ex was driving, I was in the passenger seat, and I remember we made eye contact, and you kind of smirked. And that was that. It was maybe 3 or 4 hours.
If that.
Yeah. And then, so that was the very first time that we met.
So that was in December of 2009. And then fast forward to August of 2010, you and your ex had just broken up, and then you sent me a friend request on Facebook, and then I accepted, and then we were kind of talking over Facebook.
Over that next, I think immediately after I sent him the friend request, I
messaged you.
Immediately,
and I was like, wow, what a random friend
request. And I remember
request.
I was at my mom's house. I remember I sent the friend request in her living room, and within a couple of minutes, you had already sent a message back to me saying something, and so that started the communication between us. And then
we kind of chatted on Facebook and over text for a day or two.
And I remember I thought Thomas was gay, and I probably in my head I knew he was.
Yeah.
And I remember I asked if he was gay, and he was like, no. And then he might have said, well, I might be bi, or something.
I don't know.
But then I remember I said, it's a shame that you're not, or something like that, or too bad that you're not. And then, so that was that night. And then you waited until the whole next day.
The next morning.
And you said something like,
I told you that I was.
You started it off with, what would change if I said that I was, or something like that.
Did I say that?
It was something like that. And I was like, I don't know. And then you said, I think you told me initially that you were bi.
Yeah, I think I did too.
And then did we hang out that day?
It was either that night or the next night. I went over to his house because he had just fixed up a house, and so he was living alone.
Kind of was in the process of fixing up a house,
yeah.
Which we're actually about to start working on now. We're gonna
he's
completely redo it.
Right.
So
and I was still living at home with my mom because keep in mind I was at the time 19 and you were 24, so I was not out yet, and you were only out. You were out
with friends and
family, but he wasn't like broadcasting it on.
But part of
Facebook.
that was because of the relationship I was in.
Yeah.
So the relationship that I was in, my ex was not really out, which held me back because I was ready to like be out and be open about it, but he was not out and he hadn't told his family, so it was just a weird relationship altogether.
Yeah.
And so whenever we broke up, we pretty much started talking or hanging out. I would say hanging out immediately after we broke up.
Yeah, the first night that we hung out, I came over to his house, and it was maybe the fourth day that we were like just chatting.
And this house was like a 600 square foot, tiny little bitty
like this
shack.
Maybe the size of this room and that room all together.
It was all I could afford.
It was
so
cute,
like a $10,000 house.
I loved that house.
It was cute.
That was the first house that we got together in, and we just have so many good memories in that house.
It's the first house that I bought.
Yeah.
But so he came over to that house, and I remember we were on the phone. I actually used to have a video of our first phone call because I used to randomly like record YouTube videos back then.
Way back then.
Which I don't have that account anymore. But I was doing a video or something stupid, and
I called in the middle of it.
And I remember you were like, is it safe? Because like he was asking if it was safe to be in that area of where we were at. And I was like, yeah, I've never had anything happen before, but
no, I love that video, but we don't have it anymore.
Somebody stole my computer last year, and we didn't actually even talk about that. But over this past, a couple months ago, somebody broke into our one of our houses and stole my computer. But
that was sad.
But yeah, so you came over.
I came over. It was
watched
late.
A really stupid movie, The Jacket.
The Jacket with Adrian Brody, but we didn't even finish it because
we started talking.
It wasn't that good. And so it was late. I got there like 10 o'clock, and then we just stayed up all night talking and just talking about like our past and our dreams for the future. Like PJ was telling me like his 10-year plan because that's the kind of person that he is, always planning ahead. And I just remember thinking like, if this is as far as it goes with PJ, because I didn't really have any expectations at that point. I mean, I was a young kid who was still living at home with his mom, and PJ was this, attractive, successful man, and I was like, if this is all that happens with PJ, then at least we had this one night where we stayed up talking.
So we talked all night, and then I had 2 bedrooms, so I was like, okay, you're gonna sleep in the guest bedroom, I'm gonna sleep in my bedroom. So he slept in the guest bedroom that night, and we went to bed at like 3:30 in the morning.
It was late.
And I had plans the next day, I think it was either Saturday, to go rafting with some friends of mine. And so I woke up really early and went to go meet them so that we could go rafting. And for some reason that night I had dreamed about Thomas because we had talked so much and like I got to know him. And I don't really remember what the dream was about, but I know that I had a dream. And so I wrote, because he was still in bed when I woke up and left. And so I wrote a letter or a little note to him for when he woke up and put it on his bag and basically said, well, you probably remember.
I need to go get it. Hold on. Okay, so we have this box just with a bunch of...
It has like trinkets in it, like old pictures of us and then a lot of our notes.
A lot of old notes. So I've kept almost every note. Do you see it though? Oh, there it is. So, when I woke up the next morning, I woke up to this little scribbled note
on the back
of an envelope. And it says, "Hey, I enjoyed talking and getting to know you last night. We should do it again sometime, PJ." And then it says, "P.S. You made it into one of my dreams last night. Haha, kind of scary, huh? And I thought I had died and gone to heaven.
So that was the first time that we met, and then that was the first time that we hung out.
Mm-hmm.
And then
after that, we pretty much hung out
every day
for
the next
as we could.
like 8 months or whatever.
Yeah.
I think we went for a long time without like not seeing each other. You know?
Yeah.
The very first couple of months, we made it a point to see each other every single day.
I was always staying over at his house, at that time I was telling my mom that I was staying at one of my friend's house, but however we could hang out with each other, we did. So, you know, we're both from the same small town that we both grew up in. I think we both kind of felt kind of different from all the other guys growing up. We didn't think that we'd ever find our soulmate who we were supposed to be within this, because it is such a small southern town. So I think you know, growing up, I always felt like I was going to have to move in order to find the person that I was going to end up with. Yeah.
So it was so cool to, you know, meet my husband in the same small town. Our town is, I think, 40,000 people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a small town, and it was so cool to be able to find each other in that small town. And I feel like that should give all you guys hope, because I know a lot of you live in small towns and think it's never going to happen. And you just never know when you're going to go to a get-together or a restaurant and run into your
future
boyfriend
spouse
or husband.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah.
So it can happen. Happen to us. So just don't give up hope. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
So that was the story of how we met. If you like this video, give us a like. If you have not subscribed to our channel, subscribe. And if there's something that you want to see in our next video, make sure that you leave a comment down below. Until then, bye guys.
See ya.